Many believe that when a significant event unfolds, they will have ample time to prepare. The harsh reality is that 5 events, set to begin after June 30th, 2025, will catch most people unaware until it is too late. Today, this truth will be unveiled, serving not only as a revelation for you, but as a wake-up call for the entire world. Before we dive into this testimony, please take a moment to like this video to ensure this urgent message reaches those who need it most, and leave a comment with your location and a brief prayer. Lord, please bring peace to my family. We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What do you believe lies behind these impending disasters? Your voice matters and your prayers hold power. Now, let us listen to the testimony of David, a man whose encounter with the divine demands our attention. My name is David, and I am 47 years old, born into a devout Jewish family in Brooklyn. From childhood I recited prayers and observed traditions, yet I kept God at a distance, close enough to honor but too far to truly embrace. Over time, my faith became a ritual, a shield against questions I feared to face. On June 1st, 2025, my life changed in an instant when lightning struck me at Union Square Market. For 7 minutes, I was clinically dead, my heart silent and my body still. This moment shattered my skepticism, awakening me to a purpose I could no longer ignore. My first premonition came at age 10, a vivid dream of my grandfather's death on his 90th birthday. When he died exactly as I foresaw, crushed in a warehouse accident, guilt consumed me for staying silent. That memory haunts me, fueling my resolve to speak now. I cannot repeat the mistake of withholding a warning. In those 7 minutes of clinical death, my soul drifted into a realm neither fully real nor wholly spiritual. I felt weightless, suspended in a void where time ceased to exist. The air hummed with an unseen energy, alive with whispers of eternity. A garden materialized, unlike any on earth, its flowers pulsing with vibrant life. Each petal glowed, radiating colors that sang with forgotten memories of love and loss. Their fragrance stirred my soul, evoking moments I had never lived yet somehow knew. Among the blooms, luminous letters floated, forming words in ancient tongues I instinctively understood. One phrase shone brighter, searing into my spirit: God-chosen ones. It was my true name, a call etched into my being before birth. The garden's beauty overwhelmed me, its order defying earthly logic. No paths existed, yet every flower stood in perfect harmony. I wandered, drawn to a tree whose leaves shimmered like liquid light, each whispering a story of redemption. A soft breeze carried voices, not audible, but felt within my core. They spoke of destinies unfulfilled, souls adrift in a world that had forgotten them. My heart ached, sensing my connection to these unseen lives. The name God-chosen ones pulsed, a beacon summoning me to remember. It was not just a title, but a mantle heavy with purpose. I stood still, awestruck by the weight of its meaning. Flowers swayed, their movements a dance to an unheard melody. Their light enveloped me, soothing fears I had carried for decades. I felt whole, as if the garden was my true home. The void around the garden shimmered, a boundary between worlds. I sensed I was not meant to stay, yet the beauty held me captive. My spirit yearned to linger, to unravel its mysteries. Letters continued to drift, forming names of others, each a story of hope or sorrow. I saw my grandfather's name, glowing faintly, a reminder of my past silence. Guilt stirred, urging me to act differently now. The garden's light grew brighter, illuminating my soul's scars. Each wound, from doubt to despair, was visible yet bathed in healing radiance. I wept, feeling both exposed and restored. A river flowed nearby, its waters sparkling with divine clarity. Its music was a lullaby, easing my restless heart. I knelt by its edge, longing to drink its peace. The name God-chosen ones appeared again, now written in the sky. Its letters burned, a promise I could not ignore. My spirit trembled, sensing the call was urgent. The garden pulsed, alive with divine intention. Every flower, every light was a testament to God's plan. I stood in awe, knowing I was part of something vast. The void tightened, pulling me toward another realm. The garden faded, but its essence clung to my soul. I carried its light, ready for what lay ahead. The air grew still, the whispers silent. I felt a shift, a summons to a greater purpose. The garden was a prelude, preparing me for the truth to come. The name God-chosen ones echoed, a final reminder of my identity. I embraced it, my fear giving way to resolve. The threshold dissolved, and I was drawn deeper into the divine. A voice resounded, not from any direction but within my very being. It was God, intimate yet infinite, knowing every fragment of my existence. God-chosen ones, do not remain silent as you did before, it said, stirring my soul with urgency. The voice reminded me of my grandfather's death, my failure to warn. It declared my mission, to awaken and warn the world of coming trials. My heart raced, overwhelmed by the weight of this charge. Jesus appeared, his presence both majestic and tender, a light that banished all doubt. His eyes held galaxies, each gaze revealing my life's every moment. I fell to my knees, tears streaming, awestruck by his boundless love. His face was not the one from icons, but familiar, as if known forever. His voice, warm and firm, spoke my true name, affirming my purpose. I felt safe, yet compelled to act without delay. He showed me my heart, scarred by years of skepticism and fear. Each wound glowed under his touch, healing as he spoke of redemption. I wept, grateful for his mercy and grace. Jesus explained that humanity's rejection of faith had opened doors to darkness. The coming events were not his will but consequences of human choices. His sorrow was palpable, yet his hope for us unshaken. He touched my forehead, flooding me with peace that dissolved my fears. A burning purpose replaced them, eternal and unyielding. I was chosen, my brokenness a vessel for his message. The garden's light lingered, a backdrop to his words. He urged me to speak boldly, even if rejected. My resolve grew, rooted in his unwavering presence. I saw my life's moments of doubt, laid bare before him. He revealed why I was here. My flaws made me relatable, my voice necessary. I vowed to serve, no matter the cost. Jesus spoke of prayer, a weapon against the coming darkness. Each sincere prayer was a light, piercing evil schemes. I promised to teach this truth to all who would listen. The air shimmered, charged with divine power. His love was an anchor, steadying my trembling spirit. I felt ready, though the mission was daunting. He showed me a scroll, glowing with names of souls I must reach. Each name was a life, a story, a chance for salvation. I clutched it, my heart swelling with purpose. The garden faded, but Jesus remained, his presence my guide. He promised to walk with me, a constant ally. I nodded, fortified by his assurance. I saw the world below, unaware of the trials ahead. My voice would be their warning, my prayers their shield. I accepted the call, ready to face the challenge. The scroll pulsed, its light a beacon for my journey. I saw the faces of those I would warn, their eyes searching for hope. I would bring it through faith and truth. Jesus' gaze held me, his love of fire in my soul. He entrusted me with a message for humanity, clear and urgent. I was his messenger, prepared to return and speak. On June 15th, 2025, the first vision erupted before me, a sky ablaze with a blood-red hue stretching across Europe. The crimson tide surged like an open wound, unnatural and heavy, swallowing the heavens from London to Moscow. Crowds below stood transfixed, their phones aloft, capturing the eerie spectacle that defied comprehension. Scientists scrambled to explain, citing solar flares or rare atmospheric shifts. News anchors, their voices trembling with unease, parroted theories that failed to soothe. I knew the truth, revealed in my spirit. This was no mere phenomenon but a divine warning, a cry from heaven itself. Only those who prayed pierced the veil, their hearts attuned to God's voice. Their prayers ascended like fragrant incense, a radiant light cutting through the scarlet shroud. I saw them, ordinary souls kneeling in fields, homes and quiet corners, their faces unafraid. The sky's color deepened, pulsing as if alive with sorrow. People gathered in city squares, some awe-struck, others gripped by panic. A faint sound filled the air, a mournful wail of creation grieving humanity's drift from truth. I floated above, my spirit witnessing cities bathed in an ominous red glow. Berlin's streets hummed with confusion, its people whispering of omens. Warsaw's churches swelled with hushed prayers, a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. Children awoke in the night, their screams echoing truths adults ignored. Animals huddled in silence, their instincts sensing an unseen peril. The earth seemed to pause, holding its breath in solemn anticipation. Prayer groups emerged, their voices a shield against the mounting fear. Their faith was palpable, a barrier that stilled the air around them. I marveled at their courage, their trust in God unwavering despite the unknown. Governments issued hollow assurances, dismissing the sky as harmless. Their words rang empty, blinded by a lack of spiritual sight. The red sky was a mirror, reflecting humanity's decay and its desperate need for redemption. In Vienna, I saw a mother praying in her modest apartment, her words a fortress for her family. Her light joined a network of believers across the continent, their prayers a defiant chorus. Their faith was a melody, rising against the darkness. The vision grew sharper, the sky bleeding as if wounded by humanity's sins. Its light carried a message, a plea for repentance that shook my soul. Only the faithful grasped its meaning, their hearts aligned with heaven's call. In Paris, a pastor stood in a crowded plaza, leading strangers in prayer. His voice was steady, a beacon cutting through the fear. The red light softened around him, a sign of divine favor amidst the turmoil. The air thickened, charged with a spiritual tension that pressed against my spirit. Those who mocked the faithful faltered, their laughter dying as they sensed their error. The sky's cry was unmistakable, a summons to return to God. In London, a young man, once a skeptic, knelt in an alley, his prayer clumsy but sincere. His words sparked a flame of faith, reborn in the crimson light. His light merged with others, strengthening their collective resolve. The vision revealed a world teetering on the edge of judgment and mercy. Prayer could tip the balance, I realized with urgency. The faithful were God's remnant, chosen to lead in this hour of trial. The red sky pulsed, a final warning before it began to fade. Its message seared into my soul, a charge I could not ignore. I vowed to warn others, to urge them to seek God in prayer. In Amsterdam, I saw an elderly woman praying by her window, her voice trembling but firm. Her light reached her neighbors, stirring their hearts to join her. Their prayers were a ripple, spreading hope through the city. The crimson hue lingered in Rome, where a nun led a vigil in a quiet church. Her faith was a shield, calming those who sought refuge. The sky's warning was clear, a call to awaken before it was too late. I saw a farmer in Poland, pausing in his field to pray under the red sky. His words were simple, yet they carried power, a light that touched his village. His faith was a seed, planted for a harvest of souls. The vision showed cities across Europe, each grappling with the sky's message. In Madrid, a student prayed in a library, her light unnoticed but vital. Her faith was a spark, igniting others to seek truth. The air grew still, the red light softening as prayers multiplied. The faithful's voices were a symphony, a plea for mercy that heaven heard. I felt their strength, a call to join their mission. In Prague, a shopkeeper closed his store to pray with his family. Their light formed a sanctuary, untouched by the chaos outside. Their faith was a testament, a model for a world in need. The sky's pulse weakened, its warning delivered but not yet heeded by most. I saw the faces of those below, blind to the truth unfolding above. My heart burned with the need to awaken them. The vision intensified in Lisbon, where a fisherman prayed on his boat, surrounded by the Red Sea's reflection. His words were a lifeline, reaching his crew and beyond. Their prayers were a net, gathering souls for God. In Stockholm, a teacher led her students in prayer, their young voices pure and powerful. Their light pierced the crimson sky, a beacon of hope. Their faith was a lesson, a call for all to follow. The red sky's cry echoed in my spirit, a sound I would never forget. It was not just a warning but a promise of mercy for those who turned to God. I vowed to carry this truth to the world. The second vision transported me to Venice, a city engulfed by a sudden, ferocious flood. Canals roared, their waters surging into streets with unrelenting hunger. Ancient palaces buckled, their foundations crumbling under centuries of hidden decay. Panic seized the city as tourists fled, their screams reverberating through submerged alleys. Boats tore free from moorings, crashing against bridges, while priceless artworks vanished beneath the waves. The air was thick with fear, a chaos no siren could silence. Beneath the waters, I saw a spiritual fracture, black as midnight, oozing corruption. Venice's beauty had concealed injustice and greed, now laid bare by the flood's truth. The earth groaned, weary of bearing the weight of its lies. Amid the devastation, a small chapel stood untouched, its wooden door open to the raging waters. Inside, a nameless woman knelt, her hands pressed against an open Bible, tears streaming down her face. Her prayers were liquid light, forming a barrier that held the flood at bay. Her faith was pure, a force that defied the chaos swirling around her. The waters encircled the chapel, but could not cross its threshold, honoring her spiritual shield. I stood in awe, witnessing the power of a single heart aligned with heaven. The woman's tears fell, each a prayer that joined a divine chorus. Her light spread, calming the air within the chapel's ancient walls. She was unknown to the world, but heaven saw her as a warrior. The flood raged on, claiming homes and history with merciless indifference. Yet, the chapel remained a testament to faith's unyielding strength. Her face was serene, radiating trust amidst the storm. People rushed past, oblivious to the miracle unfolding mere steps away. Their phones captured the destruction, missing the radiant light within the chapel. Her prayers were a beacon, unnoticed by most but vital to God's plan. The vision revealed Venice's underbelly, its corruption exposed by the relentless waters. Greed had built its glory, and now it crumbled under the weight of truth. The flood was not just water, but a reckoning for a city built on lies. The woman's voice rose, soft yet resonant, a melody of hope that pierced the chaos. Her prayers reached beyond the chapel, touching souls across the drowning city. Some paused, drawn to her light, their hearts stirring with faint recognition. The earth itself cried out, its voice a low moan of exhaustion from humanity's sins. The flood was a warning, a call to repent and rebuild on truth. The woman's faith was the answer, a model for a world in need. I saw a child clinging to his mother, staring at the chapel's glow through the rain. His fear melted, replaced by wonder at the woman's peace. Her light was a seed, planted in his young heart for a future harvest. The waters receded slightly around the chapel, a miracle unseen by the frantic masses. The woman's prayers were a fortress, unyielding against the flood's fury. I vowed to share her story, to inspire others to pray with such fervor. The vision deepened, showing Venice's spiritual decay in stark, unflinching relief. The flood stripped away what beauty had hidden, exposing truths long buried. The woman's faith was the antidote, a radiant light in the darkness. I saw the faces of those fleeing, their eyes filled with despair and confusion. The woman's prayers could save them, if only they would pause to listen. My mission crystallized, urging me to speak her truth. The chapel's light pulsed, a heartbeat of divine power that defied the storm. The woman's tears continued, each a prayer for the city's salvation. I felt her strength, a call to emulate her unwavering faith. In a nearby alley, a shopkeeper stopped running, drawn to the chapel's glow. He knelt in the water, his prayer joining the woman's, a faint light kindling in his soul. Their faith was a bridge, connecting hearts in crisis. The flood's roar softened around the chapel, a sign of heaven's favor. The woman's voice grew stronger, her prayers a song that reached the heavens. I saw her as God's vessel, a light in a drowning world. The vision showed gondolas splintering, their fragments floating like broken dreams. Yet the chapel stood firm, its light a promise of hope. The woman's faith was a rock, unmovable amidst the deluge. I saw a priest wading through the flood, drawn to the chapel's radiance. He joined the woman in prayer, their voices a harmony that shook the spiritual air. Their light was a beacon, guiding others to safety. The waters revealed Venice's sins, from exploitation to indifference, now judged by truth. The flood was a mirror, reflecting a city's need for renewal. The woman's prayers were the path, a call to rebuild on faith. In a flooded piazza, a young woman paused, her heart stirred by the chapel's light. She prayed, her voice trembling but sincere, joining the divine chorus. Her faith was a spark, igniting hope in those nearby. The chapel's glow intensified, a radiant pulse that warmed my spirit. The woman's prayers were a lifeline pulling souls from despair. I vowed to carry her example, to urge others to pray. The vision faded, but the chapel's light lingered in my heart, a burning reminder. I knew I must warn the world of this flood, of faith's power to save. The third vision unveiled a figure cloaked in radiant splendor, commanding a vast crowd in a gleaming arena. He stood on a stage aglow with unnatural light, his voice a blend of velvet and thunder, promising unity and peace. His beauty was flawless, a magnet drawing hearts desperate for hope. The crowd adored him, believing he wove together spirituality, science and politics into a perfect tapestry. He spoke of collective power and universal harmony, never mentioning sin or the need for redemption. Yet I saw his truth, a shadow of the Antichrist, a deceiver spinning lies with honeyed words. Behind him slithered serpents of light, invisible to most, coiling around his words like vines. They crept into listeners' minds, planting seeds of false hope and subtle deception. Each phrase was a blade, slicing silently into their spirits, unnoticed by the enthralled. Pastors and believers, once anchors of truth, stood silent, swayed by his charisma. Some joined the crowd's worship, their eyes dimmed by a fog of deception. I wept, my heart breaking as truth was traded for glittering lies. Jesus stood beside me, his eyes heavy with sorrow yet piercing with resolve. "This is the false light, a counterfeit of my glory," he said. "Even my own will stumble if they do not guard their hearts." The figure's influence swelled, uniting nations under his seductive banner. World leaders praised him, their hearts blind to the darkness beneath his radiance. The world saw a savior, but I saw a predator cloaked in light. In a megachurch, I saw a preacher, once bold in faith, now applauding the figure's words. His congregation followed, their convictions diluted by promises of peace without sacrifice. The serpents tightened their grip, their whispers drowning out the voice of truth. The vision revealed cities aglow with the figure's image, his face plastered on screens in every plaza. People chanted his name, unaware of the spiritual chains forming around them. His light was a trap, leading to a ruin they could not yet see. Amid the mesmerized throng, small fires ignited, believers untouched by the deception. In a dusty village, a boy preached with a voice like fire, cutting through the lies. In a prison cell, a woman sang hymns, her song shattering the serpent's hold on those nearby. These were God's remnant, hidden until this critical hour. Their faith was a flame awakening those who dared to listen. I saw their faces, radiant with divine anointing, fearless in their mission to proclaim truth. The figure's voice grew louder, promising a world free of pain and division. His words were a seductive lullaby, soothing a world asleep to its peril. Yet, the remnant's prayers were louder, a clarion call to awaken to the true light. In a war-torn city, I saw a man praying with authority that shook the spiritual air. His words dispelled the serpents, freeing those around him from their trance. His faith was a sword, wielded with divine precision and power. The vision intensified, the crowd swelling with fervor, their adoration a tidal wave. The figure's light grew brighter, a mockery of God's eternal glory. The remnant stood resolute, their prayers a shield against his cunning lies. In a shack, a young girl knelt, her prayer a radiant light that reached the heavens. Her voice was small but mighty, awakening her family from the figure's spell. Their faith joined the remnant, a growing fire against the darkness. The figure's serpents hissed, sensing the remnant's rising power. They lunged, but the prayers held strong, a barrier of divine light unyielding to their assault. I marveled at the strength of these unknown warriors, God's hidden army. The vision revealed a world split by choice, some enthralled by the false light, others awakened by truth. The remnant's mission was clear, to expose the deceiver's lies. I vowed to join them, to speak without fear or hesitation. The figure's face flickered, his perfection a fragile mask hiding darkness. His voice wavered as the remnant prayed, their light peeling back his facade. I saw hope, a chance for souls to break free. In a city square, a teacher stood, her voice trembling as she spoke against the figure. Her words stirred a few, their hearts kindling with truth. Her courage was a spark, a call for others to resist. The serpents writhed, their influence weakening under the remnant's prayers. The figure's promises grew hollow, his light dimming in the face of truth. I saw the faithful's power, a force that could shift the world's course. In a marketplace, an elderly man prayed, his words a shield for those nearby. His light disrupted the figure's spell, awakening a handful of listeners. His faith was a rock, unmovable amidst the deception. The vision showed screens faltering, their images stuttering as prayers rose. The remnant's voices were a chorus, a divine counterpoint to the figure's lies. I felt their urgency, a call to amplify their message. In a refugee camp, a mother prayed over her children, her faith a fortress. Her light reached others, stirring them to reject the figure's promises. Her prayers were a lifeline, pulling souls from the abyss. The figure's serpents recoiled, their power fading as the remnant's faith grew. The vision revealed a world at a crossroads, salvation within reach for those who chose truth. I vowed to warn others, to ignite their faith before it was too late. The fourth vision plunged me into a world shattered by economic ruin, the global financial system collapsing like a fragile house of cards. Stock markets plummeted, currencies turned to dust, and panic surged through cities like wildfire. People formed desperate lines, begging for food, their life savings erased in a single night. Governments unveiled a new order, demanding the mark of the beast to buy or sell. Those who accepted it gained access to scarce resources, while those who refused faced starvation and exile. The mark's allure was insidious, a promise of survival in a world spiraling into chaos. Natural disasters intensified the crisis, with earthquakes leveling entire cities, tsunamis swallowing coastal towns, and volcanoes spewing ash that choked the skies. The earth seemed to revolt, its fury a reflection of humanity's spiritual decay. I saw survivors wandering through ruins, their eyes hollow with despair. Families hid in shadows, rejecting the mark, their faith their only sustenance. Their prayers were faint lights, unyielding in the darkness, piercing the gloom with divine hope. I saw their faces, resolute despite their hunger and fear. Cities burned, looted by those driven to madness by desperation. The mark's enforcers patrolled with cold authority, their power absolute yet brittle. The air was thick with fear, a world unraveling at its seams. In a crumbling suburb, I saw a father praying over his children, refusing the mark. His family was frail but strong in faith, their light a beacon in the chaos. Their trust in God was a defiant stand against the darkness. The vision revealed mountains splitting, rivers drying, and skies darkened by ash. The disasters were relentless, a judgment on a world that had forsaken truth. Yet faith persisted, a spark that refused to be extinguished. In a makeshift camp, a woman shared her last crust of bread with a stranger, her prayer a shield against fear. Her act of love was a rebellion, a light that inspired others to hope. I saw her strength, a call to emulate her selflessness. The mark's enforcers grew bolder, punishing resistors with ruthless efficiency. Yet, the faithful stood firm, their prayers a fortress against oppression. I saw their courage, a testament to God's enduring power. The vision deepened, showing a world where trust had become a distant memory. Neighbors betrayed one another for the mark, their hearts hardened by survival's cruel demands. The faithful were few, but their light was mighty, a divine force. In a ruined market, a young man preached, his voice unwavering despite the danger. He spoke of Jesus, urging others to reject the mark and trust in God. His words were seeds, sprouting faith in hearts hardened by despair. The earth groaned, its pain a cry for redemption that echoed in my spirit. The disasters were not random but a call to return to God's truth. The faithful understood, their prayers a fervent plea for mercy. In a dusty village, a child drew a cross in the dirt, her faith untouched by the chaos. Her prayer was pure, a light that reached the heavens, untainted by fear. Her innocence was a lesson, a call to trust in God's plan. The mark's power swelled, its enforcers tightening their grip on a broken world. Yet, the faithful's prayers were stronger, a divine force that weakened their control. I saw hope, a chance for salvation amidst the ruin. The vision revealed a world on the precipice, teetering between destruction and renewal. Prayer could shift the balance. I realized with burning urgency. The faithful were God's army, their mission critical to humanity's survival. I saw the faces of those who resisted, their eyes alight with unyielding faith. Their prayers were a chorus, a call to awaken the world from its slumber. I vowed to join them, to speak and pray without ceasing. The disasters raged on, a relentless wave of judgment that tested every soul. Yet, the faithful's light grew brighter, a beacon in the storm that guided others. I saw their strength, a promise of redemption for those who turned to God. In a shattered city, a nurse prayed over the wounded, her light a balm for their pain. Her faith was a shield, protecting those under her care from despair. Her prayers were a bridge, connecting broken hearts to heaven. The mark's enforcers patrolled with increasing desperation, their authority crumbling as prayers rose. The faithful's resolve was a fire, burning away the lies of the new order. I saw their power, a force that could reshape the world. In a hidden basement, a family prayed together, their voices a harmony of hope. Their light joined others, a network of faith spanning the globe. Their prayers were a defiance, a refusal to bow to the mark's tyranny. The vision showed a world where fear had replaced love, yet the faithful's prayers restored it. I saw a mother teaching her son to pray, their light a spark in the darkness. Their faith was a seed, promising a harvest of salvation. The disasters continued, their scale unimaginable, yet the faithful endured. Their prayers were a lifeline, pulling souls from the abyss of despair. I vowed to amplify their voices, to urge others to join them. The mark's enforcers faltered, their power waning as the faithful's light grew. The vision revealed a world where redemption was possible, if humanity chose faith. I saw the faces of the resistors, their courage a call to action. The fifth vision revealed a world gripped by terror, as planes plummeted from the heavens in fiery ruin. Smoke scarred the skies from Tokyo to Paris, the roar of collapsing metal echoing across cities. Crowds stood frozen, watching wreckage burn, their hearts heavy with dread. Governments blamed mechanical faults or storms, their assurances ringing hollow. News anchors faltered, unable to mask their fear. I saw the truth. These crashes were a spiritual judgment, tied to the false light's push for the mark of the beast. Only those who prayed pierced the deception, their hearts open to God's warning. Their prayers rose like beacons, cutting through the chaos. I saw them, ordinary souls kneeling amidst wreckage, unafraid. The skies churned with unnatural clouds, pulsing with malice. Airports fell silent, fear grounding flights worldwide. A mournful wail filled the air, creation grieving humanity's spiritual drift. I floated above, witnessing cities marred by crash sites. Mumbai's streets rang with anguished cries, London's skyline choked with smoke. The vision was a stark call to awaken. Children clung to parents, sensing truths adults dismissed. Prayer groups formed, their voices a shield against despair. Their faith calmed the air, a testament to God's power. Authorities urged calm, their words blind to the spiritual war unfolding. The crashes reflected a world ensnared by lies. Only the faithful saw clearly, their prayers a light in the darkness. In Cairo, a mother prayed, her words protecting her home. Her light joined a global network of believers. Their prayers defied the false light's influence, a chorus of hope. The vision showed planes spiraling, torn by unseen forces. Each crash was a wound, bleeding lives and trust. The faithful understood, their hearts aligned with heaven. In Chicago, a pastor led survivors in prayer amidst smoldering debris. His voice was a beacon, steady in the chaos. The wreckage quieted around him, touched by divine peace. The air grew heavy with spiritual tension. Mockers of the faithful faltered, shaken by the relentless disasters. The sky's sorrow was a call to return to God. In Sao Paulo, a young man knelt by a runway, his prayer sparking faith anew. His light strengthened others, a stand against the Mark's allure. Their resolve was unyielding. The vision revealed a world on the edge, teetering between judgment and mercy. Prayer could shift the balance, I realized. The faithful were God's remnant, their mission urgent. The skies pulsed with smoke, a final warning. The message burned in my soul, a charge to warn others. I vowed to urge the world to pray. In Sydney, a firefighter prayed amidst flames, his faith a shield for the wounded. His light calmed those in despair. Their prayers were a lifeline reaching heaven. The crashes exposed humanity's sins from greed to negligence. The disasters were a mirror, demanding renewal through faith. The faithful's prayers were the path forward. Jesus stood before me, his presence a radiant anchor in the storm. He entrusted me with a mission to speak the truth and warn the world before the events unfolded. His voice was solemn, urging me to be fearless despite rejection. A scroll appeared, glowing with names of souls I must reach. Each name was a life, a story, a chance for salvation through prayer. I vowed to honor them, to fulfill this sacred duty. The air shimmered, charged with divine urgency. Jesus' love fortified my spirit, erasing doubts that lingered. I was his messenger, chosen to awaken a sleeping world. I saw the world below, unaware of the trials ahead. My voice would be their warning, my prayers their shield. I accepted the call, ready to face the challenge. The scroll pulsed, its light a guide for my journey. I saw the faces of those I would warn, their eyes searching for hope. I would bring it through faith and truth. Jesus spoke of prayer, a weapon against the coming darkness. Each sincere prayer was a light piercing evil schemes. I promised to teach this truth, to inspire others to pray. The celestial realm glowed, reflecting God's infinite glory. I felt connected to every soul, a unity beyond time. My resolve grew, rooted in Jesus' presence. I saw my life's failures, moments I had turned from faith. Jesus revealed their purpose, to make me a relatable voice. I wept, grateful for his grace and mercy. The scroll's names called to me, their voices a chorus of hope. I vowed to reach them, to change their fate through prayer. Their lives depended on my obedience. Jesus' gaze held me, his love a fire in my soul. He promised to guide me, a constant ally in my mission. I nodded, fortified by his assurance. The air grew still, the scroll's light intensifying. I saw the events again, their urgency pressing against my heart. I was ready to return and speak. I saw a world waiting, blind to the truth I carried. I would awaken them, one prayer at a time. The mission was daunting, but I was prepared. The scroll glowed brighter, a beacon in my heart. I saw Jesus' face, his love sustaining my spirit. I was his messenger, and I would not falter. The celestial light faded, preparing me for my return. I felt the scroll's weight, a sacred burden I embraced. I was no longer just David. I was God's voice. The names glowed, each a soul I could save. I saw their families, their dreams, their futures at stake. I vowed to fight for them, no matter the cost. The mission was mine, a sacred trust I accepted. I would speak, pray, and save starting now. The time was short, and I was ready. I awoke in the hospital, my body scarred but my spirit ablaze with purpose. Machines beeped, their rhythm a stark contrast to the celestial silence I had known. Doctors stared, calling my recovery a miracle after 7 minutes of death. On my bedside table lay a rosary, simple and worn, though I followed no Christian tradition. Its presence was a sign, a seal of my encounter with Jesus. I clutched it, my heart trembling with recognition. The doctor's astonishment faded, but my mission burned brighter. They could not explain my survival, but I knew it was divine. I was sent back to warn and awaken. I began sharing my story, each word a step of faith against fear. Doubt whispered I would be mocked, but Jesus' voice was stronger. I trusted him, ready to face rejection. The rosary was my anchor, a reminder of my true name. I saw the events again, their urgency pressing against my soul. I vowed to speak, no matter the cost. I urged others to pray, to watch for signs after June 15th, 2025. The red sky was coming, a warning to kneel, not explain. My voice trembled, but my resolve was firm. I saw the faces of those I must reach, their eyes searching for truth. My testimony was their guide, a call to faith. I prayed for strength, for impact. The hospital was chaotic, nurses bustling, yet I felt a divine calm. My survival was not just a miracle, but a mandate. I had to prepare the world. I wrote my story, each word a prayer for those who would hear. The rosary's beads were my guide, a rhythm of faith. I knew Jesus was with me, always. The events loomed, their shadows growing darker. I saw the faithful, their prayers a light in the storm. I vowed to join them, to lead others to pray. I left the hospital, the rosary in my pocket, a constant reminder. The world awaited, unaware of the truth I carried. I was ready to awaken them, one soul at a time. The red sky haunted me, a vision of warning and hope. I urged others to pray, to seek the true light. My mission was urgent, time slipping away. I saw the woman in the chapel, her faith a model for all. Her prayers saved Venice, and mine could save others. I vowed to emulate her, to pray without ceasing. The rosary's weight was a comfort, a sign of divine favor. I saw Jesus' face, his love sustaining my spirit. I was his messenger, and I would not fail. I called for prayer, for discernment between true and false light. The events were coming, but faith could prevail. I spoke boldly, trusting God's plan. The world was asleep, but I would awaken it. My voice was small, but with Jesus, it was mighty. The mission was mine, and I embraced it fully. David's testimony has concluded, but its message resonates with urgency. The 5 events foretold are not mere predictions, but divine warnings for a world teetering on the edge. Do not wait for signs to believe, embrace faith now, before the crimson sky appears. This call transcends borders, urging all to awaken from spiritual slumber. The heart of this message lies not in rituals or traditions, but in a personal response to God's voice. Prayer is your shield, faith your anchor in the trials to come. Stay tuned for our next testimony, revealing insights into the day of the Lord's return, a message that will stir your soul. She was a young woman, a brilliant student with a future full of possibilities. But on that fateful night, a horrific accident claimed her life. Her soul left her body, pulled into a place beyond the reach of science. But that was not all. She was shown a terrifying vision of the world's future, war, chaos, and even the collapse of America, where humanity would be dragged into an inescapable conflict. What she saw will leave you shaken. This is her testimony. Hello, Eternal Bible Stories channel. My name is Jessica Parker, and I never thought I would share this story. But after years of keeping it to myself, I feel that now is the time to speak out. First of all, I want to say that I truly love your channel. Every day I watch the stories you share, and they bring me comfort, knowing that a better life awaits us after we leave this world. Your messages have inspired me to finally tell my own story, which is why I decided to send it to eternalbiblestories@gmail.com. I had my own near-death experience in 2015, where I was shown many things about the future. Things I did not understand at the time, but over the years everything has become clearer. I wish I could tell you exactly when these events will happen, but I was not given specific dates. At first, I struggled to make sense of what I had seen, but in recent years, the pieces have slowly come together, and the true picture has started to reveal itself. That year, I was only 18 years old, with an entire future ahead of me. It was a late summer night, just before I was set to start college, and I wanted to enjoy every moment before life took a new turn. That evening, I attended a summer farewell party with my boyfriend, Mike. It was one final gathering before everyone set off on their own paths, some to college, others straight into the workforce, but I had no idea that night would change my life forever. Mike had been drinking heavily. He knew I hated it when he drank, but that didn't stop him. I had warned him so many times before, but as the night went on, he became more reckless, laughing louder, stumbling slightly, and dismissing my concerns with a careless shrug. I felt the familiar frustration bubbling inside me, but there was no point in arguing. When it was time to leave, he wanted me to get in the car with him. I refused. I couldn't drive, but I knew better than to risk my life getting into a car with someone who was intoxicated. The host offered for us to stay the night, but my parents were strict, and they would have been furious if I didn't come home. I still lived with them, and I respected their rules. That was when my friend Lisa offered me a ride. She and her boyfriend Jim were completely sober. The only catch was that I would have to sit in the bed of his pickup truck since there was no room in the front. But I didn't care. This was still a much safer choice than getting in the car with Mike. I felt relieved as I climbed into the truck, believing I had made the right decision. But we didn't make it far. Jim stopped at a gas station to grab a snack before continuing down the dark, deserted highway. We were less than 10 miles from my house when everything changed. As we rounded a bend, blinding headlights suddenly appeared. Another vehicle was speeding straight toward us in the wrong lane. I don't remember the moment of impact. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying on the cold ground, my entire body aching. I had been thrown from the truck. Later, I would learn that this was what saved my life. Emergency vehicle lights flashed, casting a red glow across the night. Sirens wailed, piercing through the chaos. I heard people shouting, the commotion of first responders working the scene. My vision blurred, my breathing felt heavy. I tried to move, but the pain was overwhelming. Desperate, I wanted to scream for help, but I couldn't. Then a police officer spotted me. Thank God was what I wanted to say. "We have another victim," he shouted. "Get medics over here now." I clung to him as paramedics arrived, quickly securing me onto a stretcher. The hospital lights swirled above me as I was rushed into the emergency room. A doctor's urgent voice rang out, "She needs surgery immediately." Then everything went black, but I didn't disappear. Something extraordinary happened. The pain, the fear, they vanished. It felt as if my entire soul had separated from my body. And then I heard a loud explosion. Instantly, I found myself hovering above, looking down at my own body. The doctors and nurses were scrambling, their faces tense. One of them shouted, "Her blood pressure is crashing. Get the defibrillator ready." I should have been afraid, but instead I felt an indescribable peace. It was as if I were merely a spectator, watching someone else's story unfold. My first thought was strangely detached. How could that body be mine when I was right here, looking down at it? Curiosity took over. I drifted away from the operating room, exploring the hospital. I passed through walls effortlessly, accidentally stepping into a storage room filled with hospital blankets. Then, I made my way to the waiting area of the ER. My mother was crying. My father sat beside her, trying to console her. Strangely, I didn't feel sadness at the sight. I simply thought, she'll be okay. Then I saw it. Above the operating table, hovering right over my lifeless body, was a dark tunnel. It stretched endlessly, like a doorway leading to another world. I didn't resist. At first, the tunnel was completely dark, but I wasn't afraid. It wasn't me moving through the tunnel, it was the tunnel pulling me in. I felt the speed increasing, faster than anything I had ever experienced on Earth. Up ahead, a small dot of light appeared. It grew larger and larger until it filled my entire vision. The moment I touched that light, I knew with certainty I no longer belonged to this world. And this was only the beginning. I didn't know how I was pulled into that tunnel, but the first sensation I felt was not fear. It was pure curiosity. I no longer felt the weight of my body, as if I had completely separated from the physical world. The dark tunnel engulfed me, but instead of panicking, I felt an inexplicable sense of peace. It wasn't as if I was moving through the tunnel by my own will, rather it felt like an unseen force was pulling me forward. I couldn't resist it, nor did I want to. A profound sense of security surrounded me, as if I were following a predetermined path. The speed increased, faster than anything I had ever experienced in my life. If I had once thought that free falling was the scariest sensation, I now realized that being pulled at this velocity, without impact or pain, was an incredible phenomenon. I had no idea how far I had traveled when, suddenly, a small point of light appeared in the vast darkness. At first, it was nothing more than a tiny speck in the distance, but it quickly grew, expanding until it nearly filled my entire vision. The closer I got, the more I felt a warmth radiating from it, seeping into every part of my being. This was no ordinary light. It wasn't blinding like the sun, nor did it force me to squint. Instead, it was gentle, wrapping me in a love so pure that words could never do it justice. And then, as I reached the light, something miraculous happened. I was no longer inside the tunnel. I found myself standing in an enormous space beyond description. Everything around me glowed with a soft luminescence, not from a single source, but as if the very fabric of this place was made of light. I felt insignificant in the presence of such vastness, yet at the same time, I felt utterly welcomed. It was a perfection beyond comprehension. I looked down at myself, or rather, at the form I had in this place. It was no longer a physical body, but something made entirely of light. I was still me, yet I was no longer bound by the limitations of the physical world. Suddenly, a voice resonated, not with sound, but with thought. "Welcome, my child." I turned, and before me stood a figure I could never mistake. A man with deep, compassionate eyes, radiating an infinite kindness. He was dressed in a white robe, and from him emanated the purest light I had ever seen. I didn't need to ask. I knew immediately. This was Jesus Christ. He didn't have to speak much, but from the way he looked at me, I understood that he knew everything about me. There was no judgment, no condemnation, only love. A love so vast and boundless that it surpassed anything I had ever experienced on earth. I began to weep, not out of fear, not out of regret, but because I realized that I had found a place where I truly belonged. "This is your home," he said. His words resonated within me, not just as a statement, but as an undeniable truth that had always been within me, waiting to be remembered. I had no idea how long I stood in his presence. Here, time no longer held meaning, but every moment was filled with warmth, as if I had been embraced by the very essence of creation itself. And then, something unexpected happened. The space around me began to shift. Like a massive screen unfolding before my eyes, images started to appear. At first, I didn't understand, but as I watched, realization dawned upon me. I was being shown something important, and that was when I began to see. The light radiated a love so pure, so overwhelming, that it dissolved every fear, every doubt I had ever known. It was not just warmth, it was understanding, a presence that saw every flaw, yet still held me as worthy, precious, beloved. Words could not define it, but I felt it in every part of my being. Then, as if answering my unspoken questions, it began to show me my life. I saw my birth. I watched myself as a tiny, fragile baby placed into my mother's trembling arms. I felt her exhaustion, her immense joy, her silent prayers of gratitude. My father, standing beside her, was cautious yet filled with quiet hope, wanting desperately to be a good father. I had no memory of this moment before, but now I relived it as if I were inside their hearts. The scenes moved swiftly. I saw my childhood, running barefoot in the grass, laughing as my father chased me. I saw myself in school, struggling with math, clenching my fists in frustration. Then, the moment I won my first award, my mother's joyful tears, my teacher's pride. Every moment, every feeling, more vivid than anything I had ever recalled. Then, I saw the moments I had forgotten, or perhaps chosen to forget. The times I had been unkind, careless words spoken without thought. The pain I had caused others, even when I hadn't realized it. But now, I didn't just see these moments. I felt them. Not from my perspective, but from those I had hurt. I felt the sting of rejection I had inflicted on a friend when I laughed at her in front of others. I felt the quiet sadness of a classmate I had ignored when he needed help. The disappointment in my mother's heart when I had lashed out in anger, though her love for me never wavered. It was not punishment, it was not condemnation, it was truth. Raw, undeniable, inescapable. Then the light shifted. I saw the moments where I had brought kindness, though I had never considered them significant. A smile, a small act of generosity, a simple word of encouragement. All rippling outward, touching lives in ways I had never imagined. I saw myself comforting a grieving friend, my arms around her as she wept. A stray cat trembling with hunger, saved by a meal I had once offered without a second thought. A younger cousin looking up to me, his admiration sparked by a few words I had spoken carelessly, but that had shaped him. Every action, every word, every thought mattered. Your life is not just about you, a voice resonated through the light, gentle yet powerful. It is about what you give to others, the love, the kindness, the forgiveness. Every choice you make echoes far beyond what you can see. I was not being judged. I was not being praised. I was simply being shown the truth of who I was, and in that truth, I understood. Life is not about personal success, achievements, or struggles. It is about the lives we touch, the love we share, the impact we leave behind. I did not know how long this lasted. It felt like mere moments, yet also an eternity. Time had no meaning here, no ticking clock, no weight of responsibilities. There was only understanding. And then, just as I thought the review had ended, the light changed. A new vision emerged, not of my past, but of something far more terrifying. I saw a world engulfed in chaos. At first it was just a financial shock, an economic tremor that no one could control. But then it quickly escalated into a tsunami, sweeping away everything humanity once knew. The US dollar plummeted in value. The numbers on stock market screens crashed at an unprecedented speed. Banks simultaneously declared bankruptcy, and within days, the entire financial system collapsed, like a sandcastle being washed away by a raging storm. I saw people rushing to banks to withdraw their money, only to be met with a cold response. Funds have run out, we cannot process your request. Panic spread like wildfire, and soon the streets were filled with desperate people, screaming in anguish as they realized they had lost everything. Stores were stripped bare, shelves emptied within hours as people fought over cartons of milk, loaves of bread, anything to keep their families alive. Neighbors who had once shared kind words now turned on each other, ready to fight over a single bottle of water. But that was just the beginning. I saw China stepping forward, demanding the United States repay the colossal debt it had accumulated over decades. But America had nothing left to give. The treasury was empty, gold reserves insufficient. This triggered an uncontrollable chain reaction. Food prices skyrocketed, supply chains were severed, and within weeks, millions faced starvation. Yet the most terrifying part was not the economic collapse itself, but what followed. It was not a war between nations, it was a war between governments and their people. I saw protests erupting across the United States. At first, people simply took to the streets, hoping for answers. They wanted their government to explain what had happened, why their livelihoods had vanished overnight. But the government had no answers, or perhaps it simply refused to give them. Instead of addressing the people's concerns, it chose repression. Law enforcement and military forces flooded the streets, deploying tear gas and rubber bullets to suppress the crowds. But the anger of the masses could not be silenced. The protests spread like an unstoppable inferno. From New York to Los Angeles, from Washington, D.C. to Texas, the nation was ablaze. And the most terrifying realization was that this uprising was not confined to the United States. It spread to Europe, Asia, the Middle East. I saw millions rising against those who had controlled them for so long. Government buildings were stormed, Congresses overrun by people who had lost all faith in the system. The elites, those who had always pulled the strings from the shadows, desperately tried to reclaim control. But this time, they couldn't. The people had awakened. Those who had once lived in fear now saw the truth. They realized that for years they had been manipulated, controlled like puppets on invisible strings. They understood that the democracy they had believed in was merely an illusion, a mask covering a decayed system. But what happened next was far worse. Cities engulfed in flames. I saw major cities, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, engulfed in flames. The skyscrapers that once symbolized economic prosperity were now skeletal ruins, charred and crumbling. On the streets, vehicles lay scorched, bodies scattered like forgotten remnants of a broken civilization. There was no law, no government. The police and military had lost control, unable to maintain any semblance of order. Criminal organizations emerged as new rulers, dividing cities into territories they controlled. The remaining survivors no longer belonged to a unified nation. They had become fragmented clans, warring for survival. Governments, in their final attempt to regain dominance, resorted to the construction of mass detention camps. Barbed wire enclosures stretched for miles, vast compounds where people were imprisoned without reason. I saw hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, locked away, as if they no longer held any worth. Who were these detainees? Not criminals, not the instigators of violence, but those who had dared to speak out, those who had challenged the system. I did not know why this was happening, but I knew with certainty that it was no coincidence. The visions continued, each more horrifying than the last. I saw a world devoid of light, devoid of hope. A shadow loomed over everything, not just literal darkness, but a suffocating spiritual one. I saw people who had lost all will to resist. I saw them submit to a new system from which there was no escape. Every action was monitored. No one could buy or sell, work or travel without complying with the new rules. And then I saw it, a presence towering above it all, a force that was not human, but something far more sinister. It did not just control governments. It controlled the very thoughts of the people. Those who refused to comply were eradicated. Those who resisted were erased. I could not take it anymore. I screamed, desperate to break free from these visions. I did not want to see any more. I did not want to believe that this was the future awaiting humanity. But deep within me, I knew this was a warning. I saw a world reshaped beyond imagination, a world without resistance, without struggle, without hope. The remaining governments had seized absolute control, not to save society, but to mold it into something unrecognizable. New laws were imposed, yet no one opposed them. Those who dared had long vanished. Giant screens towered over silent streets, broadcasting orders no one could refuse. People moved like shadows, stripped of will, as if their minds had been reprogrammed. No one traveled without permission. No trade occurred without an identification code. A chip? A mark? Some unknown technology? Whatever it was, it dictated every aspect of life. The unfit were eliminated. Convoys carried them away to distant places, never to return. Slums were erased, not by aid, but by disappearance. The elderly, the sick, the unwanted, gone without a trace. Yet in the shadows, small groups clung to the last shreds of freedom. They whispered of cities that crumbled, of people taken in the night, of horrors no one dared name. I saw cities in ruin, yet no war had been fought. Buildings collapsed from within, streets empty, stores barren. Food was a treasure, betrayal its price. But the strangest thing, silence. A population drained of thought, reduced to obedience. Schools no longer taught history. Books were burned, replaced by propaganda. A generation raised in ignorance, never questioning, never doubting. Families shattered, children betrayed parents for speaking forbidden words, siblings turned on each other,